students worship the teachings, never the teacher. The true teacher knows he's still a student. The true student knows she's already the teacher.
Hi there. Welcome to Intuition, Your Success Compass. This podcast episode, I have a guest on, Robert Althaus. And part of what I've created is a Business with Purpose episode series. And it's going to be the last episode of the month. And it's always been focused around business, but I want to start talking more about how we can create purposeful businesses and how we can contribute in more ways than just, raising our bottom line. And Robert comes in as a successful person who has been in the corporate environment with GE and then with his own businesses and owning restaurants and hospitality. And then arriving in a place in his life where he realized all the external stuff wasn't lighting him up. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have him on, because that's a message that I face and run into and interact with people all the time in my coaching. And I said, you know what, let me have a guy on, because I think it's important for us to also embrace all of the aspects of ourselves, the feminine self, the masculine self, that's all in there, that's not related to what gender you identify with or, what lot you have in life. So we had a great conversation. I know you're going to enjoy it. And we get excited about spirit messages. And then he has a book coming out that will be in the show notes. And it will give you an idea, I hope, of how change is possible and how we all come to our own divine knowing at a certain time in our life. So here you go. Enjoy.
So thank you for joining all of us, actually, at Intuition, Your Success Compass. As I said in the intro, I have Robert Althaus with me. I came to know him from an email, and then I listened to a couple podcasts he was on. And then I downloaded his first book. And then I was like, I do want to talk to this guy, because there's a perspective that I feel like has been missed in most of coaching or emerging that you're doing. And I am really excited about it. And I'm going to try not to be a chatterbox. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on. And hey, give us a little intro of you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Vicki. I really appreciate it. And, I'm always excited to talk on a new platform. And so just a little tidbit about me. I'm originally from Holland. I was 21 when I left. Through some world travel, I landed here in the U.S. about 30 years ago. And I pursued the American dream with a vengeance. I was in real estate. I was quite successful with that. I went to night school. I was successful with that. I went to an Ivy League business school. And then I went into the GE capital machine, and I made it there to the top echelon, the top 1%. And then I went into business for myself, and ever increasing, making money, realizing this American dream. And right around 2015, I sold most of my business, which at that point was based in Latin America. And I had everything. I had reached the mountain peaks, I had reached the American dream. I had the millions in the bank. I had the big house, oceanfront community here in Miami, the trophy wife and the kids, the toys, all the shiny stuff. And I was completely disillusioned. I was empty on the inside. Now, in hindsight, I know that was a big, profound spiritual awakening that I went through. But at the time, all I knew was depressed. And I was like, I was lied to. That's how I
Yes.
if I do all these things and I achieve in the outer world, then when I get to that place, and I had set that for myself, then I get to that place, then I'll be happy.
Right.
And I wasn't. In fact, I was miserable because I had sold my soul along the way in many different ways. And I had to reconcile that and what I had become. And so that's really was the catalyst for my book, Never Enough Itis, because I don't mean to curse, but it's never fucking enough in
Yeah,
this world.
it's
And
true.
that was really the disease I suffered because it was never enough. And so that's what his title came from, Never Enough Itis. And I kind of journey how this sort of innocent, young man from Holland washed ashore and just, dove into this American dream. And then how it along the way just chipped away at my soul, how I kind of diluted myself, my integrity. And, the challenge I had and then I'll shut up. The challenge I had when in 2015, the part I could really not reconcile is that the world was applauding me because I had made it. And, you should have seen my LinkedIn profile, right? I was this big success, this big, powerful guy. And I had all the money and all the trappings of that. And I had this realization that none of this means anything because inside of me, I am completely empty. And, that was a major conflict I had because the world was applauding me.
Yeah.
And inside of me, I couldn't face the man I saw in the mirror. I couldn't respect the man because I know what it took to get there and what I had done to get there. And I had a massive trail of debris behind me of all the carnage, harm, and hurt that I had caused along the way just to get there. And I didn't even like the view. So anyway, that kind of sums up my first book. You want to take it from there?
Yeah. Well, that's what I actually liked about your book. In total transparency, I don't always read or do a lot of backstory. We do a lot of these, interviews and stuff. But I was like, you know what? This dude had the vibration of a lot of my clients. And so, of course, I want to go in there, right? And so I'm listening to the book, a lot of walks with the dog we did. And I'm listening to the book and what you just synopsized, but also inside there, the pain and the realization in each of the moments that we all have to do this in our life. We might not write a book about it. But part of the soul human interaction is to one day look in the mirror and go, oh, well, hello there. Not sure I like you. Let's see what we can do about that. What I loved about the book was the transparency, but also you could feel the journey as you were writing the book. Like I could feel
the train wreck. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see it as that. I see it as the waking up, the becoming aware. But I think you'll agree with me on this. That might be presumptuous, but I don't want to live in a world where there aren't alpha males. Like I don't want to live in that world.
You don't.
Because if we all have to do those long, uncomfortable hugs, I am out of here. But there's a place for everybody. Beautiful wiring. It's just how are you going about it?
Yeah, and there's a lot packed in there. And so let me start by saying that my life actually came undone. And so by 2017, I had lost my father, and we can touch a little bit on that. This whole trajectory of success was all based on a very, very deep father wound. I just wanted to be seen, right? And the core human need for anybody, alpha or otherwise, is we all need to want and desire to be seen, heard, and loved. And I so badly wanted to be seen by my father, who was a very successful man in his own right, and a man that couldn't really express his emotions very well. And so at his funeral in early 2017, I heard how much he was bragging about me all the time. And he never once told me any of it. But it drove me inside because I just wanted to have this recognition. And then, of course, you project it on the world. You want to be recognized by the world. You want to have this accolades and the status and all those things. Now, I went eventually through a divorce in 2017, and then the universe had this beautiful gift wrapped in sandpaper for me. It took a hurricane to wipe out a business deal that I really should have never done. This was a business deal in the Keys. It was kind of a hubris deal, and it was the only deal I've ever done in my career with unlimited personal guarantee. And so by the end of 2017, I had literally fallen from grace. I had lost most of the money. My ex-wife had most of the money. my father. I lost my father. This business, it turned out to be a saga because we couldn't get the permits to rebuild, and the insurance didn't pay out, and so my whole life just really unraveled. And I've come to realize that, for my clients and the work I do, but personally, in my life first, is whenever crisis, catastrophe, and calamity show up, it's really a gift wrapped in sand. These things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And for me, all that life that I had built, that image I had built of myself, had to come apart for that which really wanted to be expressed through me to be able to come out. And, they call that the ego death, but I don't really like that much, because our ego is actually our friend.
Thank you.
But an ego that is out of control or unchecked, can do very detrimental things. And this alpha energy, I just want to touch on that. Alpha energy, alphas are the natural leaders in the world. They are natural leaders in nature. And we need some people that have that sort of energy. Now, an alpha that's unbalanced, and when I say unbalanced, there's an unintegrated feminine side of it, feminine energy. That alpha is very prone to cause a lot of damage in the world, because he's so obsessed. He's got very narcissistic tendencies. And this is really my story. Over time, I wasn't a bad guy, but I became a narcissistic asshole. Of the biggest kind. And, part of this journey of kind of resurrecting myself truly was reconciling that, seeing that, where did it come from? What was motivating me? What is the wound that was creating all of that? And I had many reconciliations to do. At one point I made a list of over 60, 70 people, and I started calling every single one of them that I felt in some way I had either not treated nicely, kindly, the right way I should have done it. And I started just apologizing, because at that time I really didn't know what else to do, and I wanted to kind of make amends. And I said, I'm just going to start calling these people. And surprisingly, almost every single one, it ended up being a very beautiful, deep conversation. And almost every single one was incredibly gracious. And just, it taught me the power of an apology. A heartfelt apology is incredibly powerful to actually change the energy of something that might have been very harmful, hurtful. It caused maybe a lot of anger. It's incredibly powerful to turn that energy around and then to release it.
Exactly. Because in that, you're also saying to the people that you're interacting with, I see you, and I hear that I may have been an asshole. This information has come to light. I'd like to have a conversation. And if that other person is available of their own heart, even if they're a little, nervous or whatever, you're cleaning up that energy and, even dispersing it, I think, throughout the universe. And I believe everything we do becomes a ripple effect, whether we know of that ripple effect or not.
It lives on for eternity.
Yeah.
There's not a frequency that does not ever stop. I mean, if you go far enough in the universe, you could pick up the reruns of the I saw Lucy, or I said Lucy, whatever.
I love Lucy.
I love Lucy, because literally everything lives forever in the universe.
Yeah.
Every expression, every action, every thought, every word is a frequency, a vibration that ripples on for eternity.
That keeps me on the straight and narrow, by the way. And when I came to that awareness through my own series of, I call them cosmic 2x4s, when you get the smack upside the head or the gift that's in ugly wrapping paper, once I started tuning in that it was intuition that I was feeling and all that, and clairsentient and all that, I was like, excuse me? There's like a track record of everywhere I've been, which means there will be a track record of everywhere I'm going, and not in a penalizing sense, but more like, oh, that sets a bar. That's kind of fun. This is like a game I can play. Of course, I show up in my humanness and everything. But to your point, I've said many times on this podcast that I find the ego adorable. I think it's this 5-year-old that might need a nap sometime. Maybe it's got the hangries going on, and to be the observer of that, or to be aware that, oh, I have this dynamic within me because I'm human, but not to diminish it, but to embrace it and to say, all right, I'll work with you. Let's see what we can do here. So I don't agree with the idea of get rid of the ego, because I believe it's our humanness.
Yeah, I see the ego as the little 5, 6-year-old inside of it.
Yeah.
And really what it needs is to be, you need to hold its hand.
Yeah.
Say, I know the way, and let's do this. I wanted to touch on something else in terms of forgiveness. And, I talk a lot about this in terms of karmic debts. And so we have this proclivity that when we feel somebody else has done something wrong, or maybe to us or someone else, they need to be punished. There needs to be justice. There need to be all these things. And that's why I can't forgive this person, because there hasn't been punishment yet. There hasn't been retribution yet. And I've come to understand that this concept of karmic debts gets settled over eternity by the universe. And the universe can do that in far greater intelligence ways than we could ever fathom. And we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to worry about whether or not someone else is going to pay for it, or they're going to somehow have some form of retribution, because the universe will. And so in a way, we could just release it and say, that's not my job. My job is to release it inside of me. So I'm not carrying it around in my backpack, and I have that energy with me, about me, and somehow I carry that into my life. So it's a very powerful way to kind of open up a channel for forgiveness, because at the end of the day, we're really only responsible for ourselves.
Agreed. And the word forgiveness, if you want to get technical about it, means to let go. So if you're allowing for that within yourself, there have been many people, I had a pretty tumultuous childhood, and there have been many people saying, why aren't you mad? And I'm like, well, that doesn't help. They've already croaked. There's nothing I can do about this except to say, next lifetime, you may be the bus driver, not my parent. But that requires me, and I believe this of all people. And I heard you say, you either said it in your book or somewhere, a video I watched, at which I feel like people need a reminder of, is that there are actually no healers except for ourselves. There can be guides, there can be helpers, or that, person standing in the road with the flares, but to have that power and to have, I think, permission too. Sometimes it helps to hear from people like yourself say, yeah, I was here and I get that this is what I had to kind of roll through. So
yeah, I'm very passionate about this, actually, because when I bring on clients, which I work a very limited amount of clients per year, but when I bring them on, I say my only job is to work myself out of the job,
right?
Because otherwise I'm truly not doing the right thing. And there's this old beautiful Vedic culture of gurus, and gurus are kind of worship. And, there's this mystic and sage, and they have something special. They're a closer emanation of God than we are. And so we have to kind of, and, in my new book, Love+Truth, which we'll touch on, obviously, there was actually something because I channeled this book, and it was something that came through very, very powerfully. And if you allow me to read it real quick, it's
absolutely,
it's in the first part. And it says, worship the teachings, never the teacher. The true teacher knows he's still a student. The true student knows she's already the teacher. And any sort of spiritual mentor, teacher, or even guru, mystic, sage, whatever it might be, unless you empower anybody else to tap into their own divinity and in their own power and their own ability to heal themselves, because actually you are the only one that can heal yourself.
Right.
Now, all a teacher can do is hand you the medicine. And usually all of us will, kind of have this vocation in one way or another. We all have none of us have all the medicine. My medicine is very good for a certain audience. That's what I'm here for, right? And it's usually around what I live, what I experienced, what I worked through, what I integrated, what I embody today. And, that's culminated in this new book that I channeled. But that doesn't mean I'm the right coach for everybody.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I have the right medicine, because we're all in a different place and in different situations. And so one of the things for the student to do, right? And there's this old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And this is really true. This maxim has an enormous amount of power. And one of the first and the foremost things to do is to find the right teacher for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that might not be the right teacher for your sister, your brother, your mother, or your husband, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But to find the one for you, and then see it as, this is someone that can help me through this period, this scene in my movie called my life. But whenever we start to hang on and clamp on and start to idolize the teacher, we have actually acquiesced all our internal power. We have put in our power now in this other person. And this is where you get situations where these teachers, abuse their students,
Right.
mistreat their students. You get these endless upsells and cross sells, and you need a little bit more healing. I'll sell you another little bit of medicine. I'm allergic to that stuff. I did a couple, when I ventured in, because I'm a businessman. I was a corporate guy. And when I got into this coaching space, I said, well, I'll just do a course just to learn the business. And I took one or two of these courses, and they teach you how to have a coaching business. And everything was about upsells and cross sells and, basically, get them in your ecosystem and keep them in there. And I was like, it made me sick to my stomach. And I thought, this is not the purpose of helping people. This doesn't help anybody to make them dependent. This is what the Western pharmaceutical industry does. Right?
Exactly.
They treat your symptoms, but they never get to the cause.
Yeah.
Now, if you as a teacher, a healer, mentor, whatever it might be, if you cannot get to the cause of someone that seeks guidance from you, you're not the right person. And you need to just own that and say, hey, this is as far as I can guide you or help you. And, maybe someone in your network that's just better suited. But the core point is, and everything I do with everybody, is my job is to remind you that you have everything inside of you that you will ever need, ever.
And that's a challenging place to get to, because the teachings or the messages, that we are also fed, not only in the marketing thing, but to, be somewhat indispensable. And I chuckled a little bit when you said to work myself out of a job, because I tell almost every client who comes on with me is, I look forward to the day that you say, Vicki, I no longer need you. Or I say, excuse me, seems like you're doing brilliantly. We can check in 6 months. And I, joke with people, the reason it's spelled guru is, you are you. So
Right.
Be you. Like, I feel like my role is to introduce people to their brilliance. And sometimes that means going through trauma and the muckety-muck, and I'm good at that. But, people have tried to, because of my role previous to mostly coaching, I did intuitive readings, and I was a very good medium. But then I started to feel icky about the dependency. And I'm like, you guys can do this. Just sit down and do it. And then I realized, okay, maybe not. But
I'll tell you another funny story. I had someone ask me the other day, because I'm claircognizant and clairsentient, and I'm not sharing that because I'm so special, because everybody has the hardwiring to develop that capability. There's nothing special about me. For me, it just happened spontaneously, and then I had to kind of learn to work with it. And and I have studied. I've read thousands of books, and I studied all major ancient wisdom traditions, and I draw on a lot of different things in my coaching technique, because I think everybody is unique. And, it is a general theme that I work usually with people through the rite of passage called awakening. But awakening comes in many different, patinas and colors, and it shows up different for other people in circumstances in their life. So, it's very different how we work with each other. But I had someone ask me one day, he says, what's like your go-to tool, and I kind of had to think about it. And I said, usually people come to someone like you or me or anybody that offers help or assistance because they're in a bad place in their life. And usually, one of the first things I do, sometimes I even literally say this, and I have a lot of alpha masculine energy. I just say, I believe in you. And I just repeat that. And sometimes that is actually the strongest medicine because they don't believe in themselves anymore. Life has beaten them up so much. And whether that's a divorce and their heart is broken, or their business fell apart, or they're in financial hardship, or they lost a loved one, or something happened to a kid, it doesn't matter what the calamity or the catastrophe was. But they've lost faith in themselves. They lost faith in life itself. They just don't see any way out anymore. And sometimes, the first thing they need to hear is just say something, this little 1 hour sacred container we got, I'm going to inundate you with an energy that I believe in. And I know you can do this. It's not going to be easy. I'm not going to bullshit you.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you I'm going to snap my finger and all your problems are gone. No, we're going to go work for some stuff.
Exactly.
Right? Because you got here because of certain patterns and belief systems and wounds that you have, right? And we need to face these. And these are your dragons that need to be slain. And this is the fire you're going to have to walk. And it's not pleasant to walk the fire. There's nothing pleasant about it. But it's still poetry. This is how we develop spiritual poetry. This is how you become a spiritual poet, what I talk about in my book.
Yeah. I was actually just going to say that your spiritual art and your spiritual poetry, and we're all our own individual divine writers and expressors, doesn't have to be in language. And it's not always easy, but it builds on itself and it becomes easier. Because, I have often said to people, it's just a sweatshirt on the chair that you forgot you left there, and you woke up, you thought it was a monster. We have to shine a light on that sweatshirt, and you're going to be like, oh, I didn't put my laundry away. And then we'll organize that, and then we'll work with the conscious circuitry and everything in there to then arrive, not necessarily ascend, to the frequency that allows you to create your poetry, to create your artistry, your expression of yourself. So tell us a little bit about that. What is your book's called Love and Truth, which, let's get to the point. Love and Truth. Sometimes the truth comes, some people come.
And that's an interesting story too. So when I was on my own spiritual discovery, I call this the grand odyssey, seeking mastery of life itself rather than mastery in the outer world with material stuff. And I was really, I guess I am an alpha, very competitive guy. I just dove full into it. And, I among other things, I became a yoga teacher. I was like, maybe that's the answer, and I learned a lot, but I wasn't really going to teach yoga. But I noticed I was doing a lot of yoga, and, most of these yoga classes, everybody's about love and light, and it's all so fun and just happy thoughts. And I was sitting with myself, and I have to kind of draw back the curtain a little bit. I was in the highest echelons of business worldwide, working with the World Bank and governments and all this stuff. And let me just leave it at this, that it's very, very unsavory what happens. And I was part of that machinery, and I saw things, experienced things, and I was part of things that, I don't wish for anybody to see. And it tainted me. I lost all saving humanity. I saw really true darkness, and people with the most beautiful ties on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like, I was like, love and light, love and light. No, it's not all love and light. There's a lot of darkness in the world. And mind you, there's a lot of darkness inside of me. I know what I'm capable of. Now, I didn't get there in one day, but I slowly but surely kind of drifted there. And I justified it in my mind because, this is what everybody does, and this is what you need to do to be successful, and this is how the game is played. And there's all these justifications. This is the masculine mind. This is why the world looks the way it does. And so Love and Truth came to me actually in a plant ceremony, and I just say, no, it's about truth. And the thing for you, your way out of this, is to actually really step into the truth of yourself, the truth of the world, the truth of what you have done. Because only in truth can we actually really see things for what they are, right? And now we can be with the things. Mm-hmm. And then love, the only truth there really is that love is all there is. Now, one of the big things that I teach, that I work with, especially with men, is similar with my background, is we have this beautiful thing called the intelligence of our heart. So in the intelligence of you have a brain that's an organ that has a mind, and that has psychological constructs, that has a conscious and a subconscious. And this is kind of, this comes online when we're born. And this produces our ego, our idea of self, basically. And the intelligence of our heart is our feminine intelligence. And our feminine intelligence works with a language. And the fluency in that language is feeling, intuiting, direct knowing, and sensing. Now, these are whispers, where our mind is very loud, and it's got, it's boisterous, and it's always objecting, and it's always finding fault, and it can't stand the unknown. Now, this intelligence of the heart, this feminine intelligence, is actually our portal to all the intelligence that pervades this entire universe. And anybody that's ever had a precognition, which I know everybody has had,
Sure.
That's the intelligence of your heart. Now, and physically it's connected to your gut. And we are very much trained from a very young age to negate this, because our Western society really just dismisses the value of this. It says it's all your brain, it's all rational, it's all logical, it's all got to be according to certain dogmas and belief systems, and society will tell you what that is. Now, the thing is, when we look back in our life, and we look at all the decisions we made that then had repercussions that might not have worked out well, you can almost always take people back and say, how did this feel to make that decision? When you married that person, did you do that because for status, to make your family happy, or you were afraid you were never going to have kids, or did you actually truly love that person? And, when you took that job, was that out of fear, or did you really want to have that job? Why did you go to that college? Why did you choose that college degree? Why did you do all these things? And when we go back, we start getting a sense like, wow, I have this internal GPS that is always at all times guiding me. But we tune it out in the West here in our society. This is just literally just knocked out of us, especially men, because we're so disconnected from our body. Now, women, it's a little bit different because of their menstrual cycles. Women are more forced to be in their body, and they're usually a little bit more connected to it. So they're more sensitive literally to this intelligence within them. But we both have it. And it doesn't mean that because I have feminine intelligence that I'm now a feminine man. I mean, look at me. I'm pretty damn masculine, right? But I have a wide open heart, and I've really cultivated it, because this is really what opened up. This wisdom of the universe started pouring into me. And then I couldn't negate it anymore. Because now, when I make a wrong move, my whole body protests. Everything in my body protests. And I've learned to read this. And here's the spiritual courage and fortitude part of this. We have to learn, because our mind might object, because our mind is linear, and it lives in time and space. And our heart is non-linear, and it's super rational, meaning rational and beyond it. It can see all timelines. It can see all potentialities, all possibilities. And so when our heart whispers and it makes no sense to our mind, we tend to negate it. And the spiritual courage that we need to cultivate, and the spiritual fortitude, is to just trust it. Even if we can't, even if everybody thinks we're crazy, if everybody thinks we've lost our mind, if we don't even really know why I'm doing this, why am I saying no to this? I don't know why, but I feel it. Trust it.
Yeah.
And what you'll see is it will unfold, and you will say, oh, wow, so glad I trusted it.
Harry.
We have to build a little bit of track record, so now we can learn to trust it.
Right. Exactly. By paying attention to it, because it's like a post illumination, right? It's not, everybody thinks it's the billboard, and it's going to have one of those spotlights from the airport on it. And I'm like, actually, it's this ringing that says, it's like out, that just feels like out of sync. Something feels like it's not jiving or lining up. And I've joked that trust should be another swear word, because it's really hard sometimes to be like, I have to trust this. And to your point, you build the track record. So in that, you also illuminate past decisions. Oh, I was really good at that. That was fantastic that I listened to it and didn't take that job. or decided, nah, we're not dating, or kept my mouth shut and everything just, flowed from there.
And there's many other stories. There's, if you go look for these kind of stories, you'll find them everywhere. There'll be people that had stage 3 cancer and went to the doctor, and he set some procedure or some whatever, and something inside of these persons said no. And they went the other side, and everybody thought they were crazy. And then they either found another way to heal, or they healed themselves or whatever. And this is like, our soul is this incredible, source of wisdom. And it's online, and it knows what our plan is. It knows our dharma, as we call it in Vedic traditions, and it knows moksha. Moksha is enlightenment, that path to get there. And it knows the way. Rumi said, follow your heart. It knows the way. And then, another favorite I have, Joseph Campbell, mythologist, he said, life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss. Follow your bliss is in your heart. It's not in your head. Solving life as a problem is in your head. Allowing yourself to live the mystery, trusting yourself and your own GPS and capabilities that you can make wise and good decisions for yourself, is taking that little ego kid, that little, take the hand and say, I know the way. I can listen to my own whispers. I am listening. If you want to put it in a religious term, this infinite intelligence I'm talking about, we can call that God, Creator, Great Spirit, Yahweh, Monad, Oversoul, infinite intelligence, universal light. I don't care what you label it. It doesn't matter, whatever feels good to you, right? But it is there, and it is guiding us because something wants to express through us. And when we can start listening to that which wants to be expressed through us, that which plays the little seed, a little dream, a little inspiration, anything that's intrinsically motivated, a dream that is a seed, I can promise you the universe is not cruel. It has given you all the resources, talents, gifts, and superpowers to sprout that seed and to see it and bring it to blossom and to bring it to harvest in terms of it growing the fruits that you get to harvest. But you have to trust and follow that, even when it's not logical and it's maybe not what the world tells you should do. But this is really where the mystery comes in. We get to live that mystery.
And we get to not know. It's okay to not know. I think that's one of the other things that has been tricky for people in this pursuit of external, right? Like there's the message that all this stuff will make you happy. And you might not even know what the heck you're doing in the process, but they said that this will work. So to listen to that heart and to listen to the gut and the spirit and the divine intelligence, big kahuna, I like that one too for a source, is to pause, right? So in your book, Love and Truth, that comes out on the 12th, I believe.
The 12th, next Tuesday. Yeah.
Yep. So in that, are there fundamental practices for connecting these dots? Because I can hear people, and I had the same, I work with a lot of CEOs myself, and I'm usually the one, calling them on their BS and stuff, but then giving them a hug. But we need practical as well. Yeah. So do we get some of this?
Yeah, well, I think you do. It's 5 parts and it's almost 650 pages. Now, the first part, I lay the groundwork of some really essential things to understand on actually let's say the construction of this universe. What kind of world do we actually live in? What is that actually? What is it really? And what I do there, I connect what has been known in all spiritual wisdom, ancient wisdom traditions for thousands, if not 10,000 of years, and I connect it with quantum physics. Because for some people, they need to know that, this isn't just this wasn't Confucius that lived in another time that said a wise thing. Okay. Like, how do I know this is right? Right? Well, I'll tell you about David Bohm and Einstein and Niels Bohr and all the modern quantum physics. And so I connect it to something that is really, really tangible for someone that needs to have a little bit of framework that they can grasp on intellectually, right? Now, I do that throughout my book, but I do lay out, and this is all based on the flower of life. There's an architecture, And the core polarity in our world is masculine and feminine. And that's not necessarily men and women. I'm talking about energy. And I describe that very detailed. And then we go into what I call the gifts, which is really the interplay between the masculine and feminine. And it kind of brings out these qualities that within us that we can cultivate. And these are all very recognizable words and recognizable traits and qualities within us, but they produce spiritual poetry. And then I have the principles of the universe, which is more like on a grander scale, you see humanity as a mosaic of the humanity. I mean, how does that operate in harmony? How does that actually function? And then, we're not alone because we're in a universe and a galaxy and, et cetera. So, and explain all these in very great detail. Now, the fifth part is really where I bring all this back down to earth. And I say, well, how do I bring this into my life as an expression? How do I become spiritual art? Now, I want to note that I'm still in business. I'm an Ivy League educated MBA. I can read a balance sheet as good as I can sit in a drum circle. So I am not here to say that you should go to Tibet and sit on a mountain and sing Om for 6 hours. Because I don't necessarily, that's not the sort of spirituality that I advocate, because I believe true spirituality, first of all, everything is spiritual in nature.
Right.
Building a beautiful business is also a spiritual endeavor. It's also art. Your business can be art. And, Picasso paint paintings and Prince make pop songs, and you might be an entrepreneur. So your art is a business. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't matter what you do. You can be a master carpenter, a homemaker. It doesn't matter what you do. But what matters is how you do it. And that is how you express yourself in all those things you do. Now, I'm also not an advocate for, you need to be poor to be spiritual. I think it's absolute complete nonsense.
Agreed.
Because all of nature is based on abundance. Now, not all of us need the same amount of money. Some of us have a big mission in life. Elon Musk needs access to vast resources because his dreams are on a mega scale. Now, not everybody needs to operate at that level. Not everybody needs hundreds of billions of dollars. And so some people are very content and actually much more happy with a much more simple lifestyle. And that's beautiful too. I would say that it's very, very difficult to be spiritual in any way if you don't know where your next rent check is going to come from. So I really don't believe, I think part of spirituality is creating a beautiful life for yourself. Now, what that beautiful life looks like, that's your canvas to paint. Mm-hmm. And the only thing you should know is that if it's a true intrinsic dream, then it's possible. There is a timeline available to you, then it's possible. But you still have to work for it. You still have to gain mastery in something. You still have to show up. You still have to do something. Just because you're spiritual and you go meditate a half-hour a day doesn't mean, that tomorrow the Mack truck with $1 million shows up. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
So we have to really look at the spirituality and the beauty in it, but then also just live it in daily life. If you have the most beautiful practices and you're incredible, you do meditation and breath work and yoga and you're so advanced and so this, and you're an asshole to the cashier at the supermarket, you haven't learned a goddamn thing.
Exactly.
And you don't understand anything about life. You don't understand anything about the sacredness of every single thing in this universe. You haven't understood any of it. And you can have the most beautiful practices. And your social media will look fantastic.
Right. It's not integrate. It's not live, because, we are here, I believe, to merge the soul and the human self. And then 100%. To be that, I believe, of service, not in service, but to be of service no matter where we are. And if you're sucking oxygen, you have room to grow. You have room to expand. Well, even if you're not sucking, if you croaked, you're still growing. So I love what you're saying about this, because I have had the privilege of working with people who have all of what we think is amazing and makes them happy, and they're miserable. And to show up and say, well, I don't care about all that stuff. It's great. It's great. I'm glad you can pay me. But that's not what this is about. I want to know who you are. And this sounds like a helpful 650 pages. That's going to be a lot of walks, or don't fall asleep. That thing that hit in your head, you get
Well,
concussion.
and I will say something. I mean, because people have mentioned that to me, and even my publisher, and I channeled it, so it's just what it is. But like, we're here to gain mastery in life.
Yeah.
And if you want to just be entertained and binge watch Netflix and read 5 pages and be enlightened, my book is not for you. Because I'm a serious seeker, and I seriously seek myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I still read books. I still go to courses. I still have teachers and mentors. And, for some people would say like, well, you're pretty far along. Yeah, but I got a long way to go. And there's a lot of people in this world that have wisdom that I haven't yet either been exposed to or integrated. And, I'm on a 2-year Vastu architecture course, and people are like, why are you doing it? You're 52 years old. Why? I said, I'm never going to stop learning because it never ends.
It doesn't. I mean, even in the crossing process, there's learning what you could have done differently in this lifetime. And to keep learning, I feel like, is a tribute to our soul. It's saying, you believed in me. Let me keep using all of my brains, all of my essence, all of my senses.
And the thing in life, because again, I'm very practical, because I do live very much in the real world. I sit on boards. I participate in businesses. I still have some things in my portfolio. The way you do anything in life is the way you do everything in life. And I have 3 beautiful kids. They're awesome, but they're also kids. And, they have to make their bed when they wake up in the morning. And they're always like, well, why? It's not that important. I said, yes, it's important. And you know why? Because if your bed is disorganized and your desk is disorganized and your bag is disorganized, you're disorganized. Because that's how you do life. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. So when you see a 650-page book and you feel called to read it, and then you don't have the discipline to read it, you know what? This pattern is everywhere in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You've got all kinds of stuff that you kind of would like to do, but you haven't cultivated the discipline to do it. And that might be your fitness routine, eating healthy, cultivating new friendships that you really want, or finding a new love partner, or some level of abundance that you're seeking. I promise you that pattern repeats itself everywhere. And so one reason to read 650 pages is say, I'm actually going to get to the end of this because I'm committing to this book. And if it's not my book and you do a course, I talked to Richard Rudd, or I saw him speak about this. This is, human design or Gene Keys.
Yeah.
And that's a very evolved program. And it takes a lot of time to go through his program. There's a lot of hours that you have to listen to and then contemplate. And he says, of 100% of the people that sign up for the free profile, 10% actually sign up for the first course, which is 3 parts. And he says maybe 1%, less than 1% finishes the whole course. Now here you have a beautiful program, and everybody piles in for the free profile and the little summary you get with that. But the course is actually the work you should do. The free profile is just like, that's a picture on the wall that means nothing unless you study it, unless you really delve into it and say, what's the wisdom here that I can apply to my life? Know thyself. Know thyself is actually, you have to apply yourself to that. And if that's not worth it to you, that's okay. It will come another time. I mean, everything is always in perfect order.
It will definitely come in another time. It'll come in your time. But I also think from a practical standpoint, in embracing that we get to do this human thing, that now is a good time. And so it might take you longer, but what is who are you comparing to? You're still externally.
There's never a judgment in that. And anything I'm saying, there's not a judgment. It's just that if you're dissatisfied with where you are in life, what your life looks like, you're not living your most beautiful life yet, then I promise you there's things you need to be willing to see inside of yourself where you are participatory in creating that life that's not the most beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And blaming others, blaming your husband, your family, your background, your race, your creed, your environment, your circumstances, the country you got born into, or your blood type, that ain't gonna They're not going to solve anything. There's no power in that. There is power in saying, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I accept where I am, right? It's okay. I'm not going to like beat myself up over it, but I'm going to go on this discovery, this grand odyssey, figuring out myself and how I can create the most beautiful life that I really aspire to. Now we're stepping into cultivating mastery. And that takes grit and perseverance and dedication, and you got to allocate some time for it. And maybe there's some bad habits that you got to cut out of your life. Well, guess what? Quitting smoking, drinking, eating healthier, committing to a fitness regime. All these things are all you loving you actually and valuing yourself.
Yeah. And connecting with yourself, because until there's just a little bit of spark of that, it's easy to ignore. It's easy to do the drive-through, right? And not go home and make a salad. Well, not where I live because there are no drive-throughs, but
I get it.
but it's easy to do that. And I think to a certain extent that's become human conditioning. And we've lost a little bit of the joy of the process and the joy of progress, even. Like, just last week I hit a PR on my deadlift, and I didn't care that anybody witnessed it. I hit it, right? And it was like, and my back stayed together and it's all good. But that process of, okay, I didn't do it a couple weeks ago, but I get to feel good about myself. I believe in happy dances for just about everything. The laundry done and everything. So the 650 pages is, I think, a testament not only to your chatty guides and who you were receiving information from, but your dedication to stay in there, your editor's dedication, your publisher's dedication, all of it. And then that energy can inspire. And rather than seeing it, my point was, it's a lot of great light within a book. And it can also be, I'm thinking of like that book that never leaves your bookshelf.
Yeah. And so let me delve into it, because I had some people pre-read it, and, you listened to my first book. I mean, what I generally hear is that I have kind of an easy writing style, right? It's kind of easy and it kind of captures your imagination. This is not a book you need to finish in 3 days,
right?
Cover to cover. This is very much a book. I mean, I recommend for people to do. I mean, go through it, right? Read it, and maybe it takes you a month. It's fine. It's not a big deal. We're in no rush. This is an eternal game, And this is very much a book that you can then revisit. You can put it next to your bed, like A Course in Miracles, and once in a while open up a chapter, and divine guidance will put you on the page that you need to read at that point. If you're going to read the book 2 or 3 times, I've read it now because of the editing work and all that. I've read it probably 10, 15 times. And each time it still reveals something new to me that it's like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. And then people read it and they point things out to me and say, oh my God, I never even really looked at it that way. But yeah, that is there, So it's very much a book that can be a reference book that can lay next to your bed, and you can just read a couple of pages here or there. I will say that I'm toying with this idea, and maybe it's helpful for some people. Then next year, there's 38 chapters. And so next year, I'm toying with this idea to do a weekly session of 2 hours. 1 hour, I cover a chapter, and an hour of Q&A.
Yeah.
And if people are interested in that, then they can just read a chapter a week, which is very manageable. I mean, anybody can read a chapter a week. And yeah, it will take you 38 weeks. And then I record it, and you can access prior recordings and things like that. So that's an idea that I'm kind of toying with that I think might be helpful for some people. Also, because then there's a sense of community. We're all reading it, talking about it. What does it mean to other people? So that is an idea that I'm toying with, and we'll see if if I get some feedback that is something that people would like. I'm inclined to create.
Well, we'll put your links in the show notes so that they can give the feedback. I think that would be helpful too, because you will grow as a result of it, and you'll bring more information. And then in that dialogue, spirit will have more to say. And then that can, just add the special little nuances to the experience. But also, I can imagine that some of this information could feel like heavy lifting to people when that's not your intention. So then you can reverence.
Well,
Yes.
yeah,
But
and I tell everybody, and this is for anything. Anytime you read a book, I read a book. I'm a great student of Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti is a very, very deep spiritual philosopher. His work is not easily accessible. Now, when I first read his work, I was really mesmerized, and I knew somehow inside it was profound, but I couldn't quite connect with it.
Mhm.
And then I read his books 3 years later, and I was ready. And so I could recognize it was profound, but I just didn't quite have access to it. I wasn't far along. I hadn't really deepened my own understanding and my spiritual development enough. And now I read him, I listen to him, and it's like, it's like music to me. But for some people, it will feel, that this is like, this is pretty dense, but I love it because I think it's just, I think there's just so much wisdom and poetry in it, but it's somewhat inaccessible to other people. The other thing I want to share, and I think I write about this in the introduction, we have this notion, we write books in words, we speak in words, but that which we're really pointing at, call it God, creator, consciousness, whatever you want to call it, it's like the finger pointing at the moon. Don't confuse the finger for the moon, right? We can use words, which is language, which is content. We can only describe something to some extent. But what we're really talking about in spirituality, the formless, the consciousness, this great mystery of the universe, we can only really point at it. There's not enough pages that we could ever describe it with words. We couldn't capture it.
Yeah.
And this is actually most things in life, because if you try to express your emotions to someone else, really what you're doing, you're using words to describe something that actually has no limits, because your emotions are infinite. It has all this different colorations and patina and nuances to it. And then you try to capture it in words, right? And then the other person tries to interpret your words and actually tries to interpret it based on their own experiences. Well, they might have never had that experience that what you're feeling. So we always have to be careful. And so one of the reasons it's 650 pages, because I describe basically a lot of different concepts in 5, 6, 7 different ways. Because some people receive different words in different ways. Some words resonate and some words don't. It makes sense in some context, in another context it doesn't. And then the final point I want to make, whenever you do this kind of work, reading any kind of book, the object is to take from it what resonates with you and discard everything else. So if there's even just one nugget in this book, and that's what you take away from it, then that nugget was meant for you.
Right.
At this point in time.
Right. I used to, when I did readings strictly into it, I said, listen, take what resonates throughout the rest, because it may come back. I've often joked that I don't know how the authors come into my house and rewrite the book so I understand it at a later date. I'm like, I never saw them come in. But it's because you raise your frequency, you raise your awareness, you have more experiences of which you, whether you realize it or not, you applied it. So I am very much looking forward to it, to reading it and to going through it and taking time with it and just to.
Well, thank you. I'd love your feedback, Vicky. I mean, absolutely. It's so welcome. Writing a book, especially something like this, is like such a precious little baby that you didn't share with the world. And of course, I love this baby. We all love our own babies. But I'd love to get the feedback and more so, what people take from it, because, we're all different. We're all in a different place. We all have different reference and vantage points. And I'm just really curious what the book might evoke in someone else, or what they take from it, or which part is helpful and which part is like just mumbo jumbo they couldn't do anything with. Mm-hmm. And all of it is welcome, because, this medicine is going to be released into the world. It's really, I was the typist that came through me, and I have the honor to be the ambassador of it, here, but I am under no illusion that, I'm such a brilliant guy that came up with this brilliant book and all this stuff. So to the extent this book is profound or brilliant, it's because I shut up and turned my mind off, and I actually was really good at typing.
Well, and you also allowed your vibration to be such that it could resonate with the information coming through, and to use your intelligence and your MBA and your experience in the world of seeing the contrast, dark light, and to, I think, give language where it's been, somewhat missing, because it's either been rah, rah, rah or kumbaya. And we need like the middle ground. So I appreciate it. Like I said, look forward to it. And we'll put all the links, because by the time this goes live, it will have been out for 2 weeks. So
Beautiful.
people will be able to get it.
I love it.
And we'll make sure
And it
that
will be
everything's
available at all major booksellers, Amazon and Barnes and Noble, whatever else. I mean, you should be able to find it everywhere.
Okay.
And my name is quite simple. If you have trouble finding it, just type in my name. I'm the only guy with this weird last name, especially on Amazon. And
That's
so
helpful.
it's quite easy to find it. If you happen to forget the name of the book, which is not that difficult to forget, I think. But anyway, thank you so much, Vicky. I really, really enjoyed this, and thank you for giving a little exposure to my book and my own thoughts. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Like I said in the email, I listen to my spirit guides. I listen with, because you get a lot of these requests, and it's like, no, hang on. What's he talking about? Let's get him in here. So I really appreciate it, Robert Althaus, and we'll put all of that link in there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to vickybaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.